Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to roast coffee. The best coffee is fresh coffee, and the freshest you get is roasting your own. So let's just dive right in. I prefer getting my beans from sweetmarias.com. They source their beans directly from the farms all over the world, and they make sure the farmers actually get a good amount of money for their crop. One of the hardest things about the coffees I enjoy is knowing that in a lot of cases there are not cooperatives for the coffees, and the farmers are not getting a fair price for their crop, and the living conditions and the amount of money that the farmers and their employees are making is disgraceful at best. I really enjoy the African coffees, and unfortunately that's one of the areas that you see that the most in. So again, I like Sweet Marias because they deal directly with the farmers. They cut out a lot of the middlemen, and the farmers get a good amount of price for their crop. Here we have Rwanda Peaberry. I have a Kenya AA. I have a Kenya AB, back when there wasn't a AA available on their website, which is still very delicious. And I have a Zambia. So let's just show you what I do. I use hot air popcorn poppers. It's very important that when choosing hot air popcorn poppers, you get the fins on the side of the poppers, not on the bottom center. That makes sure that keeps the beans constantly flowing, and the movement of the beans is vital to not scorching them. Then I've got a few other little things here. Sorry about the video all over the place. I will use this sometimes to cool, most of the time to stage the next roast. I'll use a colander to put on top of the fan for the cooling process, because beans will continue roasting after you take them out of the roaster until you cool them to room temperature, which you need to do within 3 to 4 minutes typically. And then I have just a regular bowl for mixing and putting over here as I do each roast. You can do 2 to 4 ounces typically. With the setup I have used a tin can to make a chimney of sorts, keep the beans from coming out, and to trap more heat so that you can do another ounce or 2. So let's just get right into it. First thing you do is plug in the roaster, on the bean side, grab some beans, for this roaster, I will do 4 level scoops. The roaster is pretty loud, so I will do voiceover to let you know what's going on here. Check to make sure it is heated up properly. I'll take the 4 scoops and slowly dump them into the roaster. Halfway through, there's movement. Beans will constantly move until they can move in circles and around. This is vital to not scorching the beans. The beans need to constantly be in movement. As you can see here, the beans are now moving freely. So I can put the chimney on and go on to the next step of preparing the next roast, as I watch the first crack and the chaff released here on this. It is vital to keep an eye on your roast during the process to make sure you do not over roast your beans.
The chaff is released and the first crack begins. We wait. As you can see here, we're well into first crack and the chaff is being released into the air. This causes quite a bit of mess, so it's best if done outside. This is why I use my front porch for all my roasting. Also, during this process, a lot of smoke is released from the beans, and this will fill your house up very quickly. If you happen to try this in your house, I would highly recommend a good vent hood and some sort of management for chaff, as it will go everywhere. During this process, you want to keep an eye on the color of your beans, making sure you get the proper roast profile. As you mentioned, these are the green coffee beans.
Here you can see the color of the beans prior to roasting. These are green coffee beans, and each will look a little different depending on the type of bean, but for the most part, that is the color profile.
Just in the first crack.
Now it is vital to look at the coloration of the beans to ensure the proper roast profile is achieved. First crack is completed, second crack is now starting to crackle a little bit.
2 seconds in the second crack.
If you leave the beans in too long, you will get a dark, oily roast. Some people prefer this, but it burns out a lot of the flavors, especially in these African beans. You want to try to catch this between first and second crack, or just after second crack starts, to get the full flavor of the beans, in my opinion. We'll check one more time. It appears that we have a good color, so I will prepare to dump these into the fan to start cooling right away in order to stop the roasting process. Beans will continue roasting until you cool them to room temperature. You typically want to make sure this is done between 3 and 4 minutes time frame. So I will plug in the other roaster to prepare it, clearing any chaff that may have fallen into it. I will now unplug this one, carefully remove the chimney as it is extremely hot. I have the fan started, so I will dump these into the colander with the fan blowing. And I will take the beans that I have staged for the next roast, put them into the roaster. Once I ensure the beans are moving freely, I will then put the chimney on top and go over and start moving the beans around to cool the beans. The fan works great at cooling the beans, especially on a cool morning like this. However, it also does a great job in removing the chaff. As I do this, you will see chaff blowing out. You want to remove this chaff because it will mute the flavor of your coffee. If you do not remove the chaff from the beans, as you brew the coffee, you will notice that the flavors are somewhat muted.
Chaff will mute the flavors of the coffee if you do not get it out of the bean. So the less chaff remaining in the bean, the better quality of the coffee. Here you see the color, consistency, the perfect roast profile for my taste. Now time to stage the next. These under here. Check the wood. This is the typical process. You repeat as much as you needed. I typically do about 1 pound a week for our household. Some people drink more, some people drink less. Don't roast more than you would use in a week's time, because after a week it's going to start staling. Freshest coffee is every week. I typically will every Sunday or Monday roast coffee for that week. It's nearly impossible to screw this up. It's still going to be better coffee than you buy at the store, even if you do the worst batch of roasted coffee ever. To get a consistent flavor, you have to kind of practice that. So if you want it to taste the same all the time, take notes. See what your outside temperature is, see what humidity is, how many scoops you use. Get a thermometer, check the inside temperature, see if the temperature ranges up and down, where it's peaking, times. A lot goes into it. If you just want a good cup of coffee that is a little different each time, throw it in, get the desired roast level that you want, and enjoy. Roughly less than an hour later, 6 batches later, we have our completed coffee for the week. We have cooled and thoroughly mixed all the coffee. I have done a little different roast profile for each and done what is called a post-roast blend. So after roasting it, you blend it together. You can actually roast 2 or 3 different types of beans at the same time, which would be a pre-roast blend. Each bean roasts at a different cycle, so most of the time one's going to be a little bit lighter than the other when you do a pre-roast blend. But as you can see, the consistency for each bean turned out pretty well on each roast cycle. However, once you blend it, you can see a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, a little bit of center chaff on some where the other is not. For example, you see these 2 right here. The center is really light on the right bean and darker on the left. That is a darker roast on the left and a lighter roast on the right. So anyway, we have our week of coffee now, and my wife will be happy and we will drink great coffee. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks. Like, comment, share. And of course, subscribe.